thank you for coming. I know the weather is awful out there, so thank you for being here, and thank you, library staff, for giving me an opportunity to do this presentation. My name is Alessandra Serboli. I am a graduate student at Abilene Christian University, and this is a class project. So thank you for indulging me. Thank you for helping me with this. I am taking a class of instructional design within the organizational development program. So this presentation is a topic I'm familiar with, and that's interviewing tips and resume writing. I have been in human resources for many years, as we'll see in just a minute. So I know a couple of things about interviewing and hiring, and I figured I'd share my expertise as part of the class project. So we're going to cover, yes ma'am?
So our ladies here are from Ecuador.
Yes. Oh, cool.
So we may have questions or might ask you to slow down just a little bit.
Yes ma'am.
It's okay to say.
Please do. I'm from Italy. I was born and raised in Italy. So please let me know if I say something that doesn't make sense or if I talk too fast. Please let me know. I'm happy to slow down. I know exactly what it feels like when you're in a room and you don't understand what's going on. So please feel free. Okay. So we're going to cover a bunch of different topics in the next few minutes. Again, any questions at any point in time, let's keep it interactive. And let me know if you have questions or suggestions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. All right, so we're going to talk about what is a resume and how do I get one. We're also going to talk about social media a little bit as it applies to a job search. We'll focus on LinkedIn, creating a profile. How do we use a profile on LinkedIn? How is it different than Facebook and those kinds of things. We'll talk about interviewing tips, and we'll also do a little practice if you're up to it as far as interviewing. And then we'll take a look at kind of some of the best practices of when you go to an interview, what should you wear, what should you look like, what should you be prepared for, and then what happens after the interview. Sounds like a plan? All right. This is me. As I mentioned, I'm a student at Abilene Christian University. I completed my bachelor's degree at University of Phoenix, so hence the logo. I am a member of the Society for Human Resources Management. It's a big deal for a human resources professional to be part of that society, and I have been for many years. It helps me in my profession, helps me keep my job, and it helps me get new jobs when I need some. This is my LinkedIn profile. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a few minutes. Are you guys familiar with LinkedIn? No? Not really?
No.
Do you know what Facebook is? Okay. So LinkedIn is like the Facebook for work. That's the best way I can put it.
My profile, but
Okay.
I don't know. Work. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll show you how it works. And then you have instructions in your paper as well. Awesome. All right. So what is a resume? Do you guys know what a resume is? No? Do you work? Not yet? Okay, that's why you're here, to learn better English so you can get a job. Okay, when you go get a job, chances are the employer, the company, is going to ask you for a resume. A resume is a paper that looks like this. You have a tiny picture of it in your handout. And it's going to have all your contact information. It's going to have your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, and then a list of all the jobs that you've had. That's going to help the employer, it's going to help the company have a reminder on a piece of paper of who you are and why you should work there. What do you bring to the table? Does that make sense? Okay. Depending on how much experience you may have a resume that's very long and very thick with a lot of jobs, a lot of information, or you may have a resume that's a little bit shorter because you may have just finished school, or you may not have a lot of experience. Since, I'm sorry?
No, just,
Since you guys are from Ecuador, is that?
yes.
Okay. Have you worked in Ecuador? Did you work there? I would definitely suggest, no? You look too young to have worked anywhere. But if you have worked in Ecuador, I would definitely suggest putting your experience on your resume, because that's all work, that's all knowledge and skills that you have, regardless of where you worked. Does that make sense? Okay.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, so you know resume as a curriculum vitae? Okay, yes, yeah,
Good
yeah,
call out.
very
Yes,
similar.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Good call out.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go back for a second. This may. Some of the things that should be included on your resume, some of your information. We talked about your contact information, your name, your phone number, your email address. And let's also talk about work experience. We said if you've had work experience, put it on there. What are some of the places where you've worked?
So that, I work with my parents.
With your parents?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working in the spa, 2001.
Okay.
The spa, yeah.
Okay, in a spa, doing like hair and nails, or?
Cosmetology.
Oh, cosmetology, perfect. Okay, see, your English is great. So, I don't know if you have to go to school to get a license for that, or do you get, okay,
Not school, just an institute.
Yes.
Yes.
yes, we call that a trade school sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so perfect, you would write out all that information on your curriculum vitae. That's your education, that's gonna show that you went to school, you learned how to do this. You didn't just practice on the cat, you actually went to school and learned. And you also had work experience with your parents' shop or beauty salon or whatever, hotel, whatever that was. Hotel? Okay. So that's definitely all experience that you should list, because it's gonna help you get a job here, because again, it's going to show others that you have done this before, you're qualified. So other things that you may want to think about putting on your resume are volunteer experience. For instance, if you're too young to have ever had a job in the world, but maybe you helped at the hotel with the parents, or maybe you helped babysit the neighbor's children, or maybe you volunteered at church. That's all what they call informal work experience that should be included to show that you have skills. You have skills, you have knowledge, you can do the job. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions thus far? Okay, she's got it. She's got it. She's good. She's tracking along. All right. Okay. Some resources to help you put the resume together. How do I start, right? Certainly the library, lots of resources here. Not only there's computers, there's internet, but there's also books and other resources that can show you a template. Do you understand what I mean by template? It's like a blank start. It shows you with blocks of information. Where do I put my name? Well, you're gonna put it at the top. It's gonna make you go there. Where do I put my work experience? It's gonna go over here. So that's what a template is. It's gonna help you put the information in the right spots and in the right places. Make sense? Google is always your friend. So Google it, look it up. How do I build a resume? I listed here some websites that are, these three, or this one is as well. They're free, and they will help you create a resume. You can do it on the computers right out here. You can create the resume, save it, and print it off, and here it is. You have it ready to apply for your next job. Okay? They call them resume builders because of that. They're like building blocks. Like I said, they take you block by block for your resume to show you where to plug in, where to enter the information that you need. I used this one recently, myperfectresume.com. I had to pay money. I paid $2.95 for a 2-week subscription, but I really liked the templates and the advice that they gave me. So I paid the $2.95, and then I canceled before the 2 weeks was up, so I didn't get charged again. Because it went up to $24 or something. I didn't want to pay that. So, but I liked it. I created my resume, I updated it, and then I saved it on my computer, so now I have it and I can use it at any time. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions so far about resumes or how to put one together? Okay. So we talked about social media a little bit. We talked about Facebook. We know what Facebook is. You said LinkedIn, not so much, not real sure. Okay. Other than Facebook, how many other accounts do we have with other social media? I can only keep up with Facebook. Instagram, okay. Twitter, okay, all of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All of those, okay, great. I have a couple as well on Instagram because I have a 14-year-old. That's what young people do. I don't keep up with it. I have my Facebook and I have my LinkedIn. So Facebook, I love it. I have friends and family in Italy, in Greece, in all over the world. So it helps me keep up with my friends and family for personal stuff. LinkedIn, which is this one, you've seen it, is somewhat similar, but it's more for work stuff, more for professional connections. So I listed a couple of steps on how to create an account, and then we'll talk a little bit about what should be on the account on LinkedIn. Before we move to that, I want to remind you, if you have Facebook, Instagram, etc., make your accounts private before you start looking for a job. Most of us, and I'll include myself, may have pictures or things on our Facebook or Instagram that may not be 100% appropriate. Maybe we were having a drink. Maybe we were dancing at a party or something. So my suggestion is to make those accounts private because you don't want your boss, potentially, your future boss, to really see some things that you want to keep to yourself. Does that make sense? Nothing bad. It's your personal life. It should stay personal. Hey, I've been in HR for a long time. I suggest, if you haven't done it, I suggest Googling your name. I've done it. You Google your name and see what comes up. Because chances are, your future boss, the company you're applying for, may do it as well. So make sure you know what happens, what comes up when you're Googling your name. And if there's something out there that's a little questionable, take it down. Make sense? All right. LinkedIn, again, it's a professional platform where people connect for work reasons. It's free, and I suggest, again, creating an account. Here are some of the steps that you need to take to create an account. Go to LinkedIn, you just Google it, LinkedIn, it pops right up. You enter your first and last name, you enter your email address, you create a password, and then you click join. Poof, there it is, it's done. So once you're in there, the questions that the site asks you are going to help you, or just like any other resume builder that we just talked about. They're going to help you put together your resume, your professional profile. And here's some of the questions, some of the sections that you should be ready to complete. Your introduction, this is your little speech, short speech about who you are and what you bring to the table. For instance, for me, I'm a seasoned, that's code for old, that's just another word for old, Seasoned human resources professional with 19 years of experience. That's it. That's who I am professionally. That's my introduction. Then you want, of course, your name, your current employer. Are you currently working? If you're not working, add that you're open to new opportunities. There's a section over there. There's a little checkbox. And then a photo. A photo should be professional. It should be a headshot. So wear something nice. You don't have to worry about the bottom, just the top. Wear your nice pearls or whatever it is you like to wear. Fix your hair, do your makeup, or whatever it is you do when you want to look professional, and have your friend take a headshot. And that way adds a little bit more flavor to your profile. Then asking, again, experience about work. We talked about volunteer work, informal work, and your education, whether it's your cosmetology institute, high school, college, whatever it is that your education is about. That should be included as well. And then any licenses or certifications, as well as special skills. If you speak another language, that's a big deal. Put it out there. That's huge. If you have a cosmetology license or any other license, CPR certification, add it to that information. It will make you marketable. It will make it easier for you to get a job. Any questions about LinkedIn or social media or resume so far? Nope, all good. Okay. Moving on to an interview. Has anybody been to an interview? You have? You guys have? Have you been to an interview for a job yet? No? Last year? Okay. So, did you guys like your interview? Was it a fun experience?
No.
No.
For me, it's not fun.
It was fun? Okay, what was fun about it?
Her.
Well,
I know, yeah.
We both interviewed here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And it's just,
it's a fun place to interview.
when you're like really passionate about your job or about what you're getting involved in, it can make it a little bit more fun. But of course, there's always a nerve-wracking part about it too. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Always a little anxiety going in.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. What did you do to prepare for your interview? Did you prepare for your interview?
Yeah, she did.
She did.
Did a lot of research about the library and then libraries generally speaking. So it could be like, about the company that you're applying to and then about the industry itself. You can do a little research, and then if there's like a mission statement for the company, you can kind of find out those kind of things. If there's any policies and regulations that go into that kind of stuff. I like having a lot of information when I go in.
For sure.
Yeah.
Certainly being prepared, thinking through what do you want that employer to know about you?
Mm-hmm.
You have submitted an application or sent them a resume, so they've seen your information on paper, but you're so much more than a piece of paper. So definitely think through before you go, think about what do I want this person to know about me? I went to school. When did I go to school? Why did I choose that particular program? What was interesting to me about that program? Or I've had this type of work experience. How can I take this experience and apply it to whatever job I'm applying to right now or whatever company I'm applying to right now? So thinking ahead, what you want that person to know, why you think you're the best candidate for that job is going to help you calm your nerves. I know I've been interviewing for 100 years and I'm always stressed out about interviewing. I get nervous, I get butterflies in my stomach. Yes, yes, you get that nauseous feeling. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. But thinking ahead and kind of rehearsing in your mind how you picture this conversation going, I know it's helped me a lot calm the nerves and be more prepared and be more confident in what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. I won't lie, I have rehearsed in front of a mirror. I have rehearsed with a friend. Hey, I want to say this. What does it sound like? And sometimes it sounds crazy and sometimes it doesn't, but it's good for someone else to hear what you want to say and how you want to say it and give you feedback. And then of course, when we go to an interview, we should do our best to dress professionally. That doesn't, regardless of what the job is, that's never a bad thing to do. That doesn't mean that you have to wear a suit, especially nowadays, depending on where you're applying, but most places don't make you wear a suit anymore, thank goodness. But certainly a nice dress, nice slacks, a blouse, your hair should be clean and styled properly, conservative makeup if you wear makeup, and certainly just look your best. I have an old friend who would tell me, whatever you would wear to go visit your grandmother. So those produced a very special visual in my head. So I always thought that was good advice. All right. Any questions about preparing for an interview? No? Okay. I had a video ready, so let's see if it'll go. The speakers connect?
They should.
They should, okay. Can we lose?
Did it unplug it all?
She turned around. I don't know what happened.
Try going back to your other pages, if it goes back.
It doesn't like it.
I'm thinking that.
On the laptop? Or maybe on the,
Let me see.
TV is on. It's connected.
See if we change the.
oh, the input maybe?
Oh, do you think I did? Okay. It's just a short little video, so it's not a big deal.
What was it on before? Do you remember?
Should have been on side. Oh, maybe. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
If not, we can improvise. No
Oh,
big deal.
technology.
I know.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Let's try.
Oh, there we go.
Woo, you had the magic touch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can play the video. If not, we'll just improvise. Okay.
Oh, great. We're looking for someone who has a lot of experience in this work.
I thought this was an entry-level position.
Yes, well, experienced entry level. Experience is sort of implied. We're looking for someone who's really a team player, but can also work independently as well. And so it's really important that the person who fills this role is someone who has a lot of initiative, won't rock the boat, will shake things up, but takes a very cautious approach to making decisions. Is a real risk taker, but plays by the rules. We don't like to micromanage around here, but we do require hourly status updates. In fact, I just do a video chat, I just keep it open. In fact, hey Steve, how are you? Hey, how you doing? All right, we're doing the interview right now. Just wanted to update you on that. Say hi to Steve. We're looking for someone who's confident but not overly confident, innovative but traditional, easy to work with, but with a bit of an edge. I think reliable maverick is the best way I can sum up this position. This is indeed an experienced entry-level position, so the offer didn't reflect that, but we do have a lot of great snacks in the kitchen. Kind bar? She's gone.
I don't know if you were able to follow, but the guy kept talking about this being an entry-level job, but then wanted this big list of, you have to be able to do this, and you have to be able to do this, and you have to be able to do that. And she did what I would have done, which was leave. So, I know I've been on some interviews that were like that. The job description had certain qualifications, certain skills and experience required that I felt I was prepared for after rehearsing and dressing and all this sort of stuff. And then you walk in and they want something completely different. I've even taken a job that was something completely different than what I thought was going to be. So doing your research ahead of time and being as prepared as you can certainly can help a great deal. But then the interaction, that meeting face to face with that employer is truly going to help you determine, is this really what I want to do? And do I want to work with this person and with this company? So an interview should be a two-way conversation. It should be for the employer, the company, to understand whether you are qualified for the position and the job, but also for you to decide, do I really want to do this? A couple of suggestions when it comes to interviewing. Here we go. You want to be prepared. You know you're going to be nervous, so find out where the location is ahead of time. I have driven the day before to the location, to the interview's location, to make sure I knew the traffic pattern, I knew where to park, and all this nonsense. So nothing wrong with that. Scope out the location ahead of time. Make sure you arrive on time. That always sets the tone. It shows that you're on time for that very first meeting. You're going to be on time if you're offered the job when you go to work there. That's important. No chewing gum as you're talking. I know you think it's crazy that I put it out there, but it's happened. It just doesn't portray a very professional image at that point. Chew your gum before you walk into the interview so you have nice fresh breath and you feel comfortable with yourself. But as you're talking, you should not have gum or candy in your mouth. Wearing overpowering perfume can also be a bit of a turn-off. So something light, nothing wrong with that. Making eye contact, that's important. That shows confidence as you're talking to the hiring manager. Having a firm handshake, nothing worse than this little dead fish in your hand. So certainly having a firm handshake shows confidence and shows that you are who you are, and you bring strength to the position. Speaking clearly and providing specific examples when you're asked a question. So earlier I was asking you, where did you go to school? What did you do? And you very specifically explained to me, you went to cosmetology school, you worked in your hotel, in your parents' hotel, etc. So those are specific examples you should be ready to provide, because they show that, one, you're not fibbing, you're not lying, you have specific examples and experiences that you can refer to, and it helps support what you wrote on your resume or your application. Does it make sense? Okay. If you don't understand the question that you're being asked in the interview, ask, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand, or can you help me understand what you mean by that? Nothing wrong with that. The last thing you want to do is provide the wrong answer. So ask for clarification. If you don't understand, just say it. Nothing wrong with that. And then again, always think in the back of your mind as you're answering all these questions, what do you want this employer to know about you? Why are you special? Why are you the best person for the job? These are all things that you should be prepared to share with the employer. They don't know who you are. They're just meeting you for the first time. And you want that job, you better go get it. Okay. Something I know I'm guilty of forgetting sometimes when I'm in an interview, unless I'm asked, I don't think about talking about the experience and the jobs that I've had of education that is already listed on my resume. I think about, well, they looked at my resume or my application, they don't need me to tell them again. That's a mistake. You should be proud and should be confident in reviewing the information that's on your resume that's applicable, that's appropriate for the job that you're interviewing for. Chances are the hiring manager may have looked at 4, 5, 10 different people, different applications. They're not going to remember everything that was on your specific one. So be proud and refresh their memory on what you've accomplished thus far in your career. Okay. Consider the job when you're asked certain questions. For instance, a couple of common questions that you may be asked in an interview are, what did you enjoy most about the last job? What did you enjoy least? Before you answer, think about what job are you applying for. Let me give you an example. If you are applying for, I don't know, a daycare job where there's children, and the hiring manager asks you, what do you enjoy most about your last job, and what did you enjoy least? If you say that when I worked in my parents' hotel, I really did not like the guests that had all these little children running around making all kinds of noise, and you're applying for a daycare job, that may not go together. Does that make sense? So think about what job you're applying for and how you can still best showcase your experience so that it is applicable and makes you look your best for the job that you're applying for. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And if you've had negative experiences, you've been terminated, you've been fired by a previous job, and you're asked about it, always be honest, tell the truth. And for instance, if you were, I'm just gonna make this up, if you were terminated, if you were fired because of attendance, you were always late to work, you never showed up to work, you missed your shifts, etc., you ended up being terminated. If another employer asks you about it, be honest, and then quickly turn to, I did this, but here's what I learned from it, and here's what I'm gonna do differently next time. I've heard people say, I've heard applicants say, you know, I had a problem with my car. My car kept breaking down, I kept being late for work, I missed a lot of shifts. What I learned from it is that before I go and apply for another job and look for another job, I needed to get my transportation taken care of. And I've done that. I got a new car, I got my car fixed, I carpooled with my roommate, whatever the case may be. But here I am, I learned that attendance is important, I wasn't taking care of my things, and I lost my job because of it. That shows maturity, that shows that you've learned something from it, and you're gonna act differently this time around. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Okay, I had an activity prepared. We can do it or not do it. It's up to you guys. The activity I had prepared was pairing up in groups, and I have a list of commonly asked interview questions, and I was going to have you switch off with one another quietly and rehearse. Pick a question, and one asks the question, the other one answers, and then we switch. And then after everybody has had a turn, we can talk through and decide what we want to share. Are you guys up to it? No? Okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. All right. So I'll just show you what questions I had. And I got these questions from Forbes magazine, which is a business publication. It was a list of commonly asked interview questions. You have these in your handout. So take a look at those, and again, just think through them before you go to your next interview so you can be prepared and have some of these answered, and some of these answers ready. I think I've been asked, every interview I've ever been, I think I've been asked at least 3 or 4 of these questions. So they're very relevant, and I see, your heads back there are nodding,
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
The first one always terrifies me. Can you tell me more about you? Okay, well, I never know what to say. So have your elevator speech in your head, that 30-second speech ready to go. I am who I am, Alessandra Serboli. I am from Italy. I have been in human resources for X amount of time. I have a cat. I have a son. Whatever it is you want to share with that employer. I went to school at Abilene Christian University. Whatever it is you want to share, have that 30 seconds in your head ready to go. This one I hate just as much. What are your biggest strengths? Most of us get kind of nervous and squishy about talking about ourselves and promoting us. But remember, this is your moment to sell yourself. Tell this employer how good you are at whatever it is you're trying to do with them. So this is your moment to shine. Ask your friends, what am I great at? They will give you a couple of things you're great at. Don't be bashful. Don't be shy. This is your moment to put yourself out there. They don't know you. You have to help them figure out how much they love you. What are your biggest weaknesses? I know I can come up with a list a mile long of all my weaknesses. That's just who I am. They don't want a list a mile long. They want one or two things that may be relevant, that may be appropriate for the job that you're applying for. And always know, if you're gonna list weaknesses, always talk about what you do to make those things better. That shows that you are aware and you're doing something to make yourself better as well. Why do you want to work here? Pretty standard, right? Come up with something that sounds smart. Because I know you're a great company, because I know I can have a career here, whatever it is you want to say. But you should have a reason why you want to work there. Because I need a job, probably not the best thing to say. Why should we hire you? Once again, why are you great at this? These get a little bit trickier. What is a challenge that you dealt with at work, and how did you handle it? Don't make up a story. Make sure it's a real story, something that really happened, and something that makes you look good and makes you look smart. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
So just think about that. Some version of that question will be asked. Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Well, if I had a crystal ball, I would play the lottery. I don't like that question. That's just me. But oftentimes you're asked that question, and just share what your dreams are, what your aspirations are from a professional standpoint. This one also can get tricky, similar to the previous one. Can you share a leadership experience that you had and what you learned from it? Maybe you have not been a manager or a supervisor, but you've been around someone who is, and you've watched them act in a leadership role, whatever that is. Was a teacher, a pastor, a parent that exhibited leadership. Come up with an example that really stuck with you, and why. Why do you think they're a great leader in any one of those, whether it's professional or personal? Any questions thus far? No?
What is leadership?
Leadership is being a person of authority, so a person in charge. So it could be a teacher, it could be a manager, a parent, mom, dad, a priest. Those are leaders, or community leaders, the president. Okay, so we sort of did this, not really. So let me ask you, I guess, a different version of this. Out of everything we've talked about, what do you think would be the most challenging thing about going to an interview? What would be the most challenging part of going to an interview? Yeah. What do you think would be most difficult, hardest? I don't know the word in Spanish. I'm sorry.
Difícil.
Difficile?
Difícil. ¿Cuál es, qué es más difícil?
¿Cuál sería lo más difícil en una entrevista? Tú vas a una entrevista y ¿cuál sería lo más difícil? Sí,
The questions? Yeah.
For me, the contact.
Eye contact?
Yeah,
Okay.
for me,
Okay.
I'm shy.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
My
Yeah. So what do you think?
Talk about me.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't know who I am. No.
I think you know who you are. You don't want others to know. So what do you think? What do you think you can do to feel more comfortable with the questions? It's not a test.
Practice.
Practice.
Prepare.
Yeah.
Have an answer ahead of time.
Have it ready in your head so that when you're asked that question on the spot, you don't have to make anything up. You have it ready to go. Maybe take notes. Just write it down. That helps. You see, I have my notes. What about the eye contact? I know that's hard to overcome. Do you think maybe helping or practicing with your friend or with someone you know? Do you think that might help? Okay.
She's my younger sister, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right.
She will be honest. So that's your job. From now on, she has to look at you in the eyes when she talks. Absolutely. Well, very nice. Thank you for sharing. All right. So we've made it to the interview. We've knocked it out of the park. We did great. Now what do we do afterwards? I listed a couple of tips of good things, good practices. If you don't have one already, make sure you have a professional email account. I've seen crazy email accounts like hotbabe@hotmail.com or greathonk@gmail.com. No. So just very simple, create an email account on Google or Yahoo or whatever. They're free. And your name is perfectly fine, first name, last name, initials, etc. So that it's professional, it's neutral, it doesn't say anything weird about you, and you can use it for your job applications. Send a thank you email after your interview. You will have their contact information. Send them a note, send them an email to everybody who interviewed you, and say thank you for the opportunity. It's a nice touch. Remind them of your qualifications. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I really enjoyed talking to you about my experience working at the daycare center. I know my skills and background would be great for your organization. Something like that. Check your grammar, and if you're doing it on your phone, watch out for autocorrect. I know it can say things that we don't want it to say. So, check on that one. Don't send anything that makes you look look bad, no weird pictures or personal things that you really don't want out there. Don't be too casual. Don't put your little emojis there, no little smiley faces. That's not professional. And don't stalk your interviewer. When you send the thank you note, chances are they will not respond. That doesn't mean they didn't get it. It just means that they don't want to give you preferential treatment. They don't want to treat you better than her, or her better than me. So they're just going to be quiet. But it is a nice touch. It shows that you're professional, you're confident, and you know you're the right person for the job. So it just kind of closes that loop nicely. All right. That was it for me. I appreciate you guys. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. What questions do you have? Is there anything I can answer that we haven't talked about? No? Okay. I would appreciate if you could fill out the evaluation for me and turn it in. Also, I have listed my contact information, my email address. If you have any questions later on, you're welcome to send me an email. Or when you get that great job, I'd love to hear about it. If you were able to use any of the tips that we shared today. And you can probably stop recording. Thank you.